Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Gokulananda, Radha Gokulanandam, Radha Gokulananda, Shri Radhe. Jaya Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman, Jaya Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman. Jaya Gauranitai, Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Stotra Sara Shri Srimad Abhaya Charanavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Stotra Sara Shri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki. Prem Sikaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki. Shri Mayapur Dham Ki. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki. Harinam Sankirtan Yagya Ki. Nitai Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So today we're reading from chapter 18 of the Bhagavad Gita, called The Perfection of Renunciation. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So reading from text 11. It's there on the board, so I'll recite it and you can all repeat after me. Nahi deha brita shakyam tyaktum karmanya sheshataha yastu karma phalatyagi satyagitya bhidiyate nahi deha brita shakyam tyaktum karmanya sheshataha yastu karma phalatyagi satyagitya bhidiyate nahi deha brita shakyam tyaktum karmanya sheshataha yastu karma phalatyagi satyagitya bhidiyate. Someone like to chant? Nahi deha brita shakyam Nahi deha brita shakyam tyaktum karmanya sheshataha yastu karma phalatyagi satyagitya bhidiyate nahi deha brita shakyam tyaktum karmanya sheshataha yastu karma phalatyagi satyagitya bhidiyate. Thank you. Okay, we'll do the word for word. Na, never. He, certainly. Deha brita, by the embodied. Shakyam, is possible. Tyaktum, to be renounced. Karamani, activities. Asheshataha, altogether. Ya, anyone who. Tu, but. Karma, of work. Phala, of the result. Tyagi, the renouncer. Sa, he. Tyagi, the renouncer. Iti, thus. Abhidhiyate, is said. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. It is indeed impossible for an embodied being to give up all activities, but he who renounces the fruits of action is called one who has truly renounced. Purport. It is said in Bhagavad Gita that one can never give up work at any time. Therefore, he who works for Krishna and does not enjoy the fruit of results, who offers everything to Krishna, is actually a renouncer. There are many members of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness who work very hard in their office or in their factory or some other place, and whatever they earn, they give to the society. Such highly elevated souls are actually sannyasis and are situated in the renounced order of life. It is clearly outlined here how to renounce the fruits of work and for what purpose fruits should be renounced. So before I begin to speak, I'd like to offer some prayers to our spiritual masters from whom we have received this knowledge. Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. And before beginning to speak, I'd like to seek the blessings of all the assembled devotees. Please bless me that I can say something that's pleasing to Lord Krishna and beneficial for all of us. Vansha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So I'll read the verse once again. It is indeed impossible for an embodied being to give up all activities, but he who renounces the fruits of action is called one who has truly renounced. So in the Bhagavad Gita, in the 3rd chapter, Krishna explains why it is not possible for one to give up activities. He says, Nahi kaschit kshanamapi jatutishtatya karma krit karyate hyavashah karma sarve prakriti jayargunai. That one who, according to the modes of nature, the nature one is acquired from the modes of nature, everyone is forced to act. Therefore, no one can refrain from doing something, not even for a moment. So, and in the first line of the purport to that verse, Srila Prabhupada says that the activity of the soul is the nature of the soul. It's not just because he's in conditioned life that the soul is active. The soul is naturally active in eternity. So then, naturally, spiritual life should be engaging the senses, giving us spiritual activity, not just stopping material activity, but actually engaging us in positive spiritual engagement. Because in the impersonalist philosophy, they try to stop all activity, and just their goal is to merge into the Brahman. And there is no activity in Brahman, no variegatedness, just being happy and just existing as a particle of light. But nobody can actually stay in that position for very long, because naturally we're active. And so we cannot remain satisfied without having any engagement. So the better process is to take to devotional service, where we engage all of our senses in the service of the Lord. In the Bhagavatam, it is explained the three phases of understanding the absolute truth. Vadanti tat tatvavidas tatvam yaj jnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavan iti shabdyate. That the learned transcendentalists who have understood this absolute truth call this non-dual substance Brahman, Paramatma, or Bhagavan. So in this verse, it is said that these three things are non-dual. They're all the same. And in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna confirms that Brahmanohi pratishtaham, that I am the source of this impersonal Brahman. So actually, Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan, they're all emanations from Krishna. Brahman is only the partial manifestation of Krishna. It's Krishna's effulgence. And Paramatma is a little further, the realization is a little more advanced, because one understands that there's a form, but still it's also quite passive. There's not much activity. It's more like just meditation on the super soul in the heart. That's Paramatma realization. But topmost is Bhagavan realization. So Srila Prabhupada gives Bhagavan realization means realization of the personal aspect of God, His qualities, His activities, His pastimes, and also that we can have a relationship with Him and serve Him in different relationships. So Srila Prabhupada uses a nice example to explain these three aspects of God. He uses the example first of a mountain. Like when we see a mountain from a distance, it just looks like a hazy blue cloud or something like that. But then when we go closer, then we can see that there are some trees, some houses on the mountain. So when we just approach it from a far distance, when it just looks like a hazy mass, that's compared to the Brahman realization, just like a light. No, we can't see any details or any distinctive characteristics. But once we go closer, we get to know it better. Then we can see, like on the mountain, we can see houses and trees. So that's compared to the Paramatma realization. And then when you finally get to the mountain, then you can actually meet the people in the houses, talk to them, get to know them, interact with them. So that's that's the Bhagavan realization. That's the most complete realization. Another example Srila Prabhupada gives is of a train approaching. Like when you first see the train approaching, you just see the big lights in front. So it's just like light. You only see light. But then when the train gets closer, you can make out that it's a train. And then when you actually get to the train, then you can meet the people inside it. And so that's through these examples we can see that it's actually the same thing. We're all seeing the same thing, but because of our different distances in approaching it, it appears to be different. And once we actually get closer to it, we can know it in the best way, and that's the Bhagavan realization. So in the scriptures we can see how there are many examples of devotees, of impersonalists who became dissatisfied with just being absorbed in Brahman. For example, there is a Shukadeva Goswami in the Srimad Bhagavatam explains that he was first of all attached to the impersonal aspect of God. But so actually Shukadeva Goswami, he was actually liberated even while he was still in his mother's womb. And he didn't want to come out of his mother's womb because he was afraid that as soon as he comes out, then he would be influenced by the illusory energy and he would be distracted in his meditation on Brahman. So he actually stayed in his mother's womb for 16 years. And then the father, Vyasadeva, was getting very concerned. So he went to Krishna and he said, please, can you do something to help? The child is not coming out after 16 years. So Krishna came and he spoke to Shukadeva Goswami. He said, you can come out, it's okay, I promise to protect you. You don't need to become afraid that you will fall into Maya. So then Shukadeva Goswami, he came out, but as soon as he came out, he immediately grew up to 16 years and he left home. And his father was very sad. He was like, oh, he was calling him, no, please come back. But he just went. But then Vyasadeva had a good idea, that he got some of his disciples to recite a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. And the verse he recited was, Aho bakiyam stanakalakutam jigamsa yapaya yad apya sadvi lebe gatim dhatryuchitam tatonyam kamva dayalu sharanam rajema. This verse is describing Krishna's mercy that he showed towards Putana. Putana came to kill Krishna when he was a small child, and she smeared poison on her breast so that when Krishna would suck her breast, then he would drink the poison and die. But Krishna is so kind that he just accepted the mood with which Putana came to nurse him and give him milk like a mother. And so although he killed Putana, after killing her, then he gave her salvation. He gave her liberation and the position of a mother, one of his mothers in the spiritual world. So so this verse goes, alas, how shall I take shelter of one more merciful than he, who awarded the position of a mother to the demon witch Putana, even though she tried to kill him. So then when Shukadeva Goswami heard this verse describing Krishna's kindness and his mercy even to a person who tried to kill him, then he became attracted. And so then he wanted to hear more. So he went and he followed these sages, and then they brought him to Vyasadeva. And then he sat and he learned the Bhagavatam from Vyasadeva. And then after he spoke it to Shukadeva Goswami, and then that's how we have our Bhagavatam. So then some of the sages, they were asking this question actually, that how is it that Shukadeva Goswami, although he was already satisfied in himself, he was fully liberated, how is it that he became attracted to Krishna? And then the answer is given in the Bhagavad Gita in the Bhagavatam in this famous Atmarama verse. Atmaramas chamunayo nirgrantha apirukrame kurvantya ahaitukim bhaktim itham bhuta guno hari. That the Lord Krishna possesses so many wonderful qualities and attributes that even those who are advanced on the path of liberation and who are perfect in their self-realization, they're fully satisfied in themselves, but still they're attracted to hear about Krishna because his qualities are so wonderful. So this is the superior position of bhakti yoga over impersonal meditation. It's more attractive because naturally in this verse it's talking about how it's impossible for an embodied being to give up all activities. So it's good that we give up material activities, but we should engage our senses in positive spiritual engagement. And that is performed through bhakti yoga, by serving Krishna, who is all attractive. And when we serve with love, knowing that this is the most wonderful person to serve, then that's when we get full happiness, full satisfaction. Another example is, let's see what I have here. Oh yeah, from the Bhagavatam is the 4 Kumaras. The 4 Kumaras, they were also attracted to the impersonal aspect of the Absolute. But when they were traveling around the universe, fully satisfied. But when they came to see Lord Vishnu in Vaikuntha, then they smelled the aroma of the tulsi leaves from Lord Vishnu's lotus feet. And then even though they were attracted to the impersonal aspect, they became attracted to Lord Krishna just by smelling the aroma of the tulsi leaves from his lotus feet. And they became attracted to serve Krishna also. So this is another example. And in the Chaitanya Charitamrita also, There are a few examples. One is Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. He was considered the most scholarly person of his time, and he was respected by everyone. But he was an impersonalist also. And so he was living in Jagannath Puri, and one day Lord Chaitanya came to Jagannath Puri. And when he came to see Lord Jagannath for the first time, then he was so filled with so much love and ecstasy upon seeing Lord Jagannath, because he was thinking that this is actually Krishna himself here, the son of Maharaj Nanda. And he immediately fell unconscious with love for Krishna. And the guards of the temple, they couldn't understand, what is this man doing lying on the floor? So they thought, let's carry him out. But just before they were about to do that, just in time, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya came in, and he said, what are you doing? Why are you carrying him? What's happening with this man here? Just wait a minute, let me see who he is. Because Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he was very learned, so he knew that in rare cases, advanced devotees, they fall into ecstasy and they fall unconscious upon seeing the Lord. So then he checked, he put a swab of cotton beneath his nose, and he saw that it was moving very, very faintly. So then he could understand that this person is actually in ecstasy. So then he asked the guards to bring them to his house, and he respectfully laid Lord Chaitanya down on the bed in his room. And then when Lord Chaitanya got up, then he said, my dear sannyasi, let me teach you something about Vedanta. So then he began to speak about Vedanta to Lord Chaitanya, but he explained it only in the impersonal viewpoint. So Lord Chaitanya, he just stood there, and he just sat there and listened. He didn't say anything, because Lord Chaitanya, he's always very respectful and humble. So he didn't argue or say anything. He just sat there and listened for 7 days without saying anything. The Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was speaking and speaking. He was just staring, not saying anything. So after 7 days, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was getting a little bit uneasy. He was thinking. He asked him, "Are you understanding? Are you not understanding? Or do you agree or disagree? You're not saying anything." So Lord Chaitanya, he said that the explanations of Vedanta are just brilliant. They're clear like the sun. But your explanations are like the clouds. They're covering the sun. And so Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was like, "Oh, well, will you kindly explain then?" So then Lord Chaitanya, he explained Vedanta to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, revealing its true meaning of how the ultimate goal is to awaken a loving relationship with Krishna in devotional service. And then hearing that, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya became convinced, and he became a devotee. He gave up the impersonal viewpoint, realizing that it was inferior to devotional service to Krishna. And actually he became so much attached to devotional service and so much opposed to liberation that there was one verse in the Bhagavatam, this famous verse that goes, Tate nukampam susamikshmano, punjana evatma kritam vipakam, hridvagvapurbhir vididhan namoste, jiveta yo mukti pade sadayabhak. So he was telling Lord Chaitanya that, why does this verse say mukti pade? Because this verse is explaining how the devotee, by always engaging in devotional service to Krishna, that he naturally inherits the kingdom of God, just as one naturally inherits the property of his father. So just by engaging in devotional service to Krishna, naturally one attains the kingdom of God. But the Sanskrit word used to mean going back to Godhead is mukti pade, mukti. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said, why don't we change it to bhakti pade? Because bhakti is actually so much better than mukti, because he was an impersonalist, and he was used to impersonalists referring to mukti to mean impersonal, merging into the Brahman effulgence. But Lord Chaitanya, actually he was very happy to hear this, that Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who was such a staunch impersonalist, now became such a pure devotee of Krishna, so much dedicated to the personal feature of Krishna. But he said that we can't change the Bhagavatam because we have to respect the Bhagavatam is perfect as it is. Instead, we should try to understand the true meaning of mukti. That mukti actually means to attain to our natural position, which is as eternal loving servant of Krishna, and to engage in our natural engagement, which is devotional service to Krishna, and to attain to our eternal abode, which is the abode of Krishna. So that's how Lord Chaitanya explained this verse. So this is another example of an impersonalist who gave up the impersonal view as inferior and engaged himself in the activities of devotional service. And another example is Prakashananda Saraswati. Prakashananda Saraswati was the head of all the impersonalist sannyasis, the Mayavadi sannyasis in Varanasi, which is like the center of the Mayavadis. Jai Shri Radha Gokulananda ki jai, Sita Ram Lakshmana Hanuman ki jai, Gonitai ki jai. So actually Lord Chaitanya, he didn't want to talk to the Mayavadis, but he did so because his devotees asked him to, because his devotees were so much disturbed by hearing the criticism of the Mayavadis about Lord Chaitanya. They couldn't tolerate it, so they said, Lord Chaitanya, please do something. We can't bear to hear them criticize you. So by the arrangement of Krishna, of Lord Chaitanya, that one Brahmana invited Lord Chaitanya and all the Brahmanas, all the Mayavadi sannyasis to his house. So then Lord Chaitanya agreed to go. And then Lord Chaitanya is always very humble, showing how a devotee should behave. And so he sat at the place where they wash their feet. And but also he exhibited his Brahman effulgence, his effulgence. So then when all the sannyasis, they saw Lord Chaitanya is so effulgent, and then they became amazed that this must be a great personality. So then they very respectfully came up to Lord Chaitanya and said, "Oh, why are you sitting in this dirty place? Please come here and sit with us. You seem to be like a very intelligent, learned person. Why don't you study Vedanta? Why are you just dancing and chanting like a madman?" And then Lord Chaitanya said, "Yeah, I'll tell you why. Because when I approached my spiritual master, he told me that you are a fool. You have no qualification to study Vedanta. You just chant the holy names of Krishna." So why did Ishwar Puri say that? Because Lord Chaitanya, he wanted to spread this Krishna consciousness through the chanting of the holy names in this age of Kali, because the chanting of the holy names is the easiest process. And it's actually when his spiritual master said that you are a fool, he wasn't referring to Lord Chaitanya, who is a fool. The fools are us who can't study Vedanta. So then Lord Chaitanya, he took it upon himself to teach us all this easy process of chanting the holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, so that we can easily attain to the perfection of life. So these are a few examples to show how impersonalists, oh yeah, I didn't finish the story actually. So then the Mayavadis, upon hearing this, they were understanding. They were like, okay. So then, but still they insisted that we know that you're a learned scholar, so please can you explain the Vedanta to us? So then Lord Chaitanya, he again explained Vedanta to the sannyasis, explaining it in terms of its true meaning of devotional service. So then those Mayavadi sannyasis, they also became convinced that actually Brahman is just the effulgence of Krishna, and actually the highest perfection can be attained through awakening a loving relationship with Krishna, the personal form of the Lord. Yeah, so then they all became convinced, and they also took to the chanting of the holy names. Yeah, so these are some examples showing how the impersonalist, because there's no activity, in impersonal liberation, then they can't remain happy there. As stated here in this verse, that it is impossible for an embodied being to give up all activities. But he who renounces the fruits of action is called one who has truly renounced. So one who works for Krishna, gives up all his activities for Krishna, he is a true renouncer. And we can see how there are so many devotees who are so happy with engaging in devotional service. For example, Prahlad Maharaj, when Lord Nrsimhadev appeared to him and asked him for a benediction, then he said, "No, I'm fully happy. I don't need anything from you. I'm fully satisfied being your servant and you being my master. And I don't want to change the relationship to become like a business, that I do something for you, expecting something in return. I just want to serve you with love, and this is all I want. This is fully satisfying to me." And there's also Kolavecha Sridhar, even though he was the poorest person, that when Lord Chaitanya asked him, what would you like? I would like to give you something. You can ask for me for anything. I'm the Supreme Lord. Then Kolavecha Sridhar said, "No, I don't want anything. I'm fully satisfied just serving you with my banana preparations, whatever you would like to take. Please just come to my shop every day and take my banana preparations." So this shows how the devotees are fully satisfied in devotional service. And actually, the position of a devotee is so amazing that even Krishna himself, even though he's God, he also wants to taste the bliss of being a devotee. And so he comes as Lord Chaitanya, because he sees that all his devotees are serving him with love, and that they're deriving so much happiness by serving him, that he also wants to taste that happiness. And so he comes as Lord Chaitanya to experience the happiness of serving Krishna. And in the Bhagavatam, there's a nice verse that explains how we can use all our senses in the service of the Lord. But it's in the example of Maharaj Ambarish. Savaimana Krishna padara vindayo vachamsi vaikunta gunanu varnane karo harer mandira marjanadishu shutim chakara chuta satkatoraye mukunda linga laya darshane drisho tadbritya gadra sparshenga sangama pranang chatatpada saroja sorave Srimad Tulasya rasanam tararpite Pado Harir Kshetra Padanusarpane Shiro Hrishikesha Padabhivandane Kamang Chadasyam Natu Kama Kamyaya Yadotamashloka Janashayarati. So this verse explains how Maharaj Ambarish, he engaged all of his senses in the service of the Lord, even though he was a busy king. So first it says, Savaimana Krishna, that his mind was always engaged in thinking about Krishna. Savaimana Krishna padara vindayo vachamsi vaikunta gunanuvarnane. His words were always engaged in glorifying the activities and qualities of the Lord. Karo harir mandira marjanadishu. His hands were engaged in cleaning the temple of the Lord, and etc. Karo harir mandira marjanadishu shutim chakara chuta satkadode. That his ears were engaged in hearing about the glories of the Lord, and his legs were engaged in walking to the temple of the Lord. Also, it's mentioned in the Nectar of Devotion that one of the 64 items of devotional service is to circumambulate the temple of the Lord. So that's another way we can use our legs in the service of the Lord. In Mayapur and Vrindavan, part of the morning program every day is to circumambulate the deities 3 times, at least 3 times. All the devotees do it. They take Prabhupada in procession and go around the temple, go around the deities every day. And then also smelling the tulsi and flowers offered to the Lord, he engaged his sense of smell in that way. And his head in bowing down to the Lord, and his desires in fulfilling the desires of the Lord. So if Krishna says that Krishna wants us to offer him food, then we also want to offer our food to Krishna. That's how we utilize our desires. If Krishna wants to spread his message to everyone, then the devotee also desires to spread the message of Krishna to everyone. So in this way, we engage our desires in fulfilling the desires of the Lord. So I was actually speaking to a lady another day, and she was saying that I don't like Bhagavad Gita so much because Bhagavad Gita is a bit too preachy. It's like Krishna's, ordering, do this, do that. If you don't do this, then you'll suffer. So then I was thinking that, we all know this verse very famous, Man mana bhava mad bhakto, madhyaji mam namaskuru. So Krishna says, just always think of me, become my devotee, worship me and offer your obeisances unto me. So if somebody may read this verse and think that, oh, Krishna is so egoistic. He's saying, worship me, offer your obeisances to me. But do we know the previous verse? What does Krishna say in the previous verse before he says this? I'll just read it for you, it's nice. 1864. Krishna says, because you are my very dear friend, I am speaking to you my supreme instruction, the most confidential knowledge of all. Hear this from me, for it is for your benefit. So actually Krishna is saying this not because he needs our service. He's saying this because when we engage in the service of Krishna, that's for our greatest benefit, because that's the only way by which we can be fully satisfied, fully happy, by engaging in the service of the Lord. Because this is our nature. Our nature is to serve. And when we engage in the service of Krishna, who is the best person, he's the most attractive, most kind, most merciful, then we become fully happy by engaging in that service. And Krishna doesn't need, he's not hungry for our food offerings. But if we offer our food to Krishna, then we become free from all sinful reactions, and we actually purify our senses so we can actually taste transcendental bliss when we see Krishna. Because Krishna is here standing on the altar. But because we have a material eyes, then we can't appreciate Krishna, that this is actually Krishna. But by always following the process of devotional service, by always hearing about Krishna, always trying to remember Krishna, then our senses gradually become purified. This is explained in the Nectar of Devotion. Atta Shri Krishna Namadi na bhavet grahyam indre sevan mukhe jivado swayam eva spuratyada. That the senses of the conditioned soul are contaminated by material association, and therefore they can't appreciate Krishna's transcendental name, form, and qualities. But when he begins to render devotional service by chanting the Lord's holy names and by tasting the remnants of his food, then the senses are gradually purified, and then we can actually understand who Krishna really is. Prabhupada gives the example of an iron rod. If you place it in the fire and keep it there, just keep it in the fire for a long time, then gradually it becomes just like fire. It becomes red hot, the color like fire. It burns like fire, and it gives off light also like fire. So in the same way, if we always remain in association with Krishna, who is the supreme pure, through chanting his holy names, which are non-different from him, by hearing about him, Krishna is absolute, so he's non-different from his name, his qualities, his pastimes, and his associates, by associating with his devotees, by tasting the remnants of his food, which are also non-different from him. That's why we say Krishna Prasadam, and we always honor it with great respect, because it's actually a service to Krishna to honor Prasadam. So by always doing all these things, keeping in contact with Krishna, then we're becoming purified. And one day we'll be able to actually realize Krishna, realize that this is actually Krishna here standing on the altar. But Krishna is so kind that he appears in this form, stone, made out of stone, so that we can see him, we can get a chance to remember him and visualize him even with our material eyes. But when we actually develop spiritual eyes, then we can realize that this is actually Krishna and have the same experience as Lord Chaitanya had when he saw Jagannath. And he was thinking, oh my God, this is Krishna right here, and then he fell unconscious. And not only will we be able to see Krishna in his deity form, but we'll be able to see Krishna everywhere. This is explained in the Brahma Samhita, Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena, Santa Sadeva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti, Yam Shyama Sundaram Achintya Guna Sarupam, Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. That the devotee whose eyes are tinged with love of Godhead, he can see Krishna everywhere, and he remembers Krishna everywhere, and he's always in great bliss by always remembering Krishna, associating with Krishna in that way. So, actually these instructions that Krishna is giving us in the Bhagavad Gita, they're for our own benefit. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, he doesn't say, you offer me, very delicious food because I'm hungry, and you should offer me, basmati rice, not normal rice, only with ghee. And he doesn't say that. He just says, you can offer me whatever you have, even a leaf, a fruit, flower, or water, but just try to offer it with love. So the important thing is we offer it with love. That's what Krishna wants to see. So, and then by engaging in this loving relationship with Krishna, that's where we get true happiness. So Krishna is instructing all of these things for our benefit. And he says, because you are my very dear friend, I'm giving you this most confidential knowledge. So many people, they don't know this, that actually service is the greatest bliss. And so if we want to really be happy, then we should accept Krishna's instructions with faith, with humility, with sincerity, and practice them. Then we can actually realize that the highest happiness of devotional service. Some people, they may think that, oh, this is dogmatic. But this can be explained by an example. Like if somebody says, you have to put food only in your mouth. So then somebody may think that, oh, that's so close-minded. Why don't you be more open-minded? There are so many holes in your body. You can put food through your ear, through your nose. Why should I only put it through your mouth? So if somebody says that, no, you should put it only through your mouth, otherwise you're going to suffer. So what is that? Is that being like, too rigid or too... What will somebody say? No, that's just an instruction for your benefit. That if you put food in your mouth, that's the way it's made. If you don't do it like that, then you'll suffer, and that's the fact, right? So we should just accept Krishna's instructions like that and not be foolish, thinking that, I can make my own path. I don't have to follow Krishna's instructions. Every path is as good as any other, because it's not like that. Krishna has created things in a certain way, and if we follow Krishna's instructions, then only we can get the highest benefit and happiness. So there's 5 minutes left. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Any corrections? Yes?
If devotional service is so attractive, why do people get stuck at the level of non-realization?
I think many people, they're so frustrated with life in this material world. Prabhupada explains that many people, they are afraid of relationships because they had so many bad relationships in this world. So they're just so pained and distressed that when they think of there being no distress, they just want to be peaceful and happy and just without any problems, without any trouble, without having to deal with any annoying people. So they think that if they can do that, that's good. But I think many people, they don't know actually about how there's actually transcendental activities. That's why Krishna says that this knowledge is most confidential. So we actually have a a duty as devotees to preach this and make this known to people, so that they can actually be informed of this and attain the highest happiness of a loving relationship with Krishna. Because, Brahman is just like negation of the negative. Like, okay, there's no suffering, but then what next? You can't just, be happy just being without any activity, without any variety. There needs to be some positive engagement for us to be happy. So thank you for your question. Does anybody have anything else? Yeah?
What can we say to people when we're trying to preach? What can we say to people that are set on having their own way, that they can make their own path without depending on anyone?
Yeah. So we can try our best to explain, but ultimately we have to understand that it's in Krishna's hands, and Krishna also gives everyone the free will. He doesn't force anyone to surrender to him. So neither can we force anyone to surrender to Krishna, because everyone has their free will. So if they can't understand from our teachings, then we have to leave it to Krishna, because ultimately Krishna makes arrangements, and everybody takes their own time to surrender to Krishna. The nature of this world is such that ultimately people will come to question, why do I have to suffer? And when they realize that there's nothing they can do about having to become old, having to suffer from disease, having to die, then they'll realize that I'm not the supreme controller, and that there is a supreme controller. And then they'll try to inquire about who is the supreme controller. And once they come to that point, then Krishna makes arrangements for them to meet the devotees and get in touch with transcendental knowledge. And that's the time when they're actually open to accept it. But until they get to that point, then it's very difficult for people to accept these teachings. So I hope that helps a little bit. Anything else? It's time now. Okay, thank you all for listening. Now we'll have the arti. Hare Krishna.